I am number one, not number two. If I'm not the one, I'm uncomfortable. See the competition I've been running through. Leveled up, I only see him in my rear view.
Oh, are you serious?
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I'm
No.
ballin'.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I'm ballin'.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I should probably quit the coffee. And, I don't know. I think I'd feel more awake during the morning if I didn't drink coffee.
Interesting.
This is our page so far, but the truck's almost done.
I've heard
Oh,
people say that if
wow.
you wait like 2 hours or whatever, like if you wake up and have a cup of coffee right out the gate, you're gonna like spike back down again. But
Yeah.
if you wait
Yeah.
like 2 hours or whatever,
Yeah.
and like your cortisol levels like settle first, and then you can have your coffee,
You wanna-
it
I
actually
think-
works. But
I think the biggest mistake that people make is they don't eat anything,
Mm.
and so what happens is like
I
the
made that mistake
coffee's
today.
very acidic,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it like kind of
Upsets
destroys
their
your
stomach,
stomach.
yeah.
Yeah, and so
Here's
you,
the
you need
problem.
to eat something first, and then
We're all
Drink the
talking
coffee.
from like a
Coffee.
level-headed space right now, but when you're 12 hours deep on set,
Totally.
we're
Totally.
drinking coffee, guys.
Totally.
Let's
It's
not-
like
Absolutely.
11 o'clock at night, and you're like, should I be drinking this Red Bull right now? You're like, yes. Yes,
Yeah,
I,
I need
should.
wings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% I should be.
Yeah.
Welcome, another
Thank
Happy Ride
you.
podcast. We are back. We have a
Ew.
special guest. We've talked about it. I say
Yep.
this like every guest, I feel like, because we talk to all our guests so many times about coming on. But we've chatted on numerous occasions about getting you on. You're
Yeah.
finally here. Introduce yourself.
Yay! My name's Jennie Latham Morris. Some people know me by Jennie Latham. I feel like I've had like 2 lives and 2 careers. So like if you were in the film business like what was it, like 1999, I was Jennie Latham, and then I got married and then I became Jennie Morris, and people are still confused and I'm confused because now I'm divorced. I have no idea who I am, but
She's Batman.
I'm going with Jennie Latham Morris so that everybody
you got all the bases
has one
covered.
foot in the
Yeah.
door. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, have you always been from Salt Lake City and your career in Salt Lake City, or?
I was born in Los Angeles. Both my parents are from LA, but we moved here when I was like 10 years old. And I went to school here, and then I'll tell you more maybe about how I got into the industry. But I left and I started my career here, and then I moved to Los Angeles to kind of get out of the umbrella of my mother. Yes, I'm a Nepo baby. And make sure that I was getting hired because I was doing a good job and not because I was her daughter.
Totally.
So I did that. I was in Los Angeles for probably 7 or 8 years, and then I was brought back to Utah for a television series that was being shot here, and that was the end of like I was missing Utah. I was flying home in the winter on the weekends to snowboard and
It doesn't
ski.
feel right during
Yeah.
Christmas being out there. And
No.
everyone's just, it's all hot.
The
and
palm
No.
tree Christmas. What?
Yeah, it's. I'm glad to
7
be back.
years. That's a few more years than I did. I did not like LA.
Yeah,
It's not my style.
Yeah, and honestly, these days, I feel like if you have a Los Angeles phone number, you're like, people still in their brains, even after all these years that, production's been going on in Utah and probably other states that are thriving and doing really well, in their brains, they're like, if you're from LA, you actually probably know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that is so actually backwards, I think, because I've worked on shoots in LA where I'm like, who are these people? Nobody knows what they're doing, but it's a mindset.
Not only that, we've all
Totally.
worked on some sets where some LA people have come into town and we're looking at each other like, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
So no disrespect to the crews in LA, but you do not have to live in LA to succeed in this industry. In fact, I think more and more people are leaving LA.
That's how
It's
I feel
too
like even
expensive,
now.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like New Mexico.
Yeah.
Like everybody's going to New Mexico. Like Netflix just has spent almost like $4 billion or something
Oh,
like
they
that.
did?
Like
Oh, wow.
expanding all their New Mexico
Yeah.
stages.
Yeah.
And so it's like, honestly, New Mexico is like the new next Hollywood.
Yeah.
Interesting.
As far as that's concerned, because they're building so many
Yeah.
stages and things out
Oh,
there.
wow.
And it's just
Yeah.
like,
Is it a good tax credit? Is that why
yeah,
people
New
are going to that
Mexico's
state?
an insane tax credit, and then you also have Georgia.
Yeah.
Atlanta
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
huge too.
Now
and then-
Nevada.
Missouri just passed a bit.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Arizona
Missouri.
has one
Yes.
that's building up too.
Which is crazy. I love that mindset, though, that people who, I'm going to use Kevin Costner as an example, but have made some influence and call it a wave in the industry and came up with some capital, and now they're kind of not doing the norm of going to LA, building a studio and trying to like do that niche.
Yeah.
And they're kind of doing their own thing and creating their own stuff everywhere, which is obviously expanding the film.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. It is cool.
It is cool.
So yeah.
So what brought you back? Well, first of all, let's talk about your mom.
Okay.
let's start there.
Mama Latham. So my mother got married very young. She was 18 years old. She had 5 children right off the bat. And when I started high school, I believe, she went back to college.
Oh, wow.
So, now that I look back being a mother, I'm like, what in the literal world? Like,
Totally.
she went back to school full time, 5 kids, all 2 years apart.
Oh
I think my little brother was just starting kindergarten.
Wow.
And she was commuting from Salt Lake City to Provo. She was going to BYU. She started in the theater department. She's always been like very into the arts, and she had to take a class for that for what she was doing. Anyway, but the class was a film class. So she took the film class and was like, oh my gosh, this is where I belong. Like, not in theater. These are my people. So long story short, she ended up getting a film degree. And about the time she graduated from college, I was just starting I say college career, but I was so half-ass. I had like zero intention of actually finishing college. I didn't know what I was doing. I had zero money. Like, I was living off of, I remember I was managing a gas station, like right on the BYU campus. And I like lived off of the food that was going bad at the
The expired taquitos and stuff.
Yes. I remember once the freezer went out and all the popsicles were melting, and I called the owner, and he's like, just give them away, get them out of there. And I like loading my car with popsicles. I'm like, I can live off of this for at least 3 weeks.
Popsicles are calories.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, my mom, her first job out of school was on a television series, and she called me one day and she's like, why don't you take a little time off and come work as a production assistant and just like make some money so that you're not starving to death.
Yeah.
And so I did. It was a television series called Hollywood Detective. It was with Tony Peck, who's Gregory Peck's son. He was a disaster. And yeah, I spent like months just chasing him around the studio. We shot at Osmond Studios.
Oh yeah.
Big drug addict. I was like, what is this insane business? But
What is this world?
I was making money all of a sudden, and I was like, this is amazing. And from that day on, I was hooked. I was in. It was something that I felt at home with, and that I think I was good at. Whereas up until that moment, I was not good at anything because school was so difficult for me. I was like like I said earlier, very ADHD. Could not concentrate in classes at all. I would walk in, I'd be like, this class is only 45 minutes. Like, listen to everything the teacher's saying. You can do it, Jenny. And next thing I know, the bell's ringing, and I'm like, what the hell was just said?
Like, that was 45 seconds. What do you...
Yeah. So, I don't know. I loved it. I just kind of took off from there. It was just like job after job after job after job.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was the same way in college too.
Really?
I was like, didn't really know, like, even growing up, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I had no idea, and I like ended up like following my girlfriend to school, and then like just kind of studying whatever because I like didn't know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so that was like the downfall of everything, I guess. But
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like an imposter because I'll hear people say like, all I ever wanted to do in life was make movies, and I was doing it with like my parents' video camera when I was a little kid, and and that just was not me. I was trying not to starve to death.
Totally. It's kids that have like their favorite director by the time they're 5 years old.
Yes.
And I'm like, not me.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
I found my way into this. That's not.
No,
Yeah.
I feel that a lot too with film, because there's so many like people that are diehard film
Yeah.
people, and that could name every actor,
Yes.
director.
Like, you don't know the entire Criterion collection?
like,
What do
No
you mean?
idea.
To be honest, like
Yeah.
that is not my world. I live in my own little like creative space, and I don't
Yes.
remember what I did yesterday or what's
Yes,
tomorrow
same.
kind of thing. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
But no, I've and a lot of similarities there with you in school. I had the same exact thing, and then when I got on set for the first time, and it was just like, wait, like the days don't feel as long.
Yes.
Like you enjoy it. It's like this whole different environment where you're around creative people who think like you, and like you can talk how our brains think, and they
Yes.
understand it. It's like a whole
Yes.
different world.
Yes.
Where I think, I don't know, a lot of people with ADHD find their way into film for some
Yes,
reason.
I would agree. Like, can you imagine? I mean, you ask anyone on the set, and you're like, "Do you think that you could do a 9 to 5 job for like a corporation, like sit at a desk?"
Absolutely not.
All of them.
Yeah.
And there is no way. Like,
Nope.
yeah. So
Nope.
here we are, we're all dysfunctional, and we're
I'm
doing
actually-
it together.
You just reminded me of a conversation I had with my dad, because I was working at a ski and sea, and I was a snowboard bum, and I was like, I'm gonna be a pro snowboarder and just
Yeah.
like work at ski shops, and like this is awesome. My dad's like, dude, you're making $7.25 an hour waxing snowboards.
Yeah.
Like you can't pay rent.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like I'm over there borrowing food from him,
Yeah.
and like the whole
Give it
10,
back.
right? And yeah, we were having this conversation, and then it kind of, luckily I fell into film, and there's money in film to at least enough to survive.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
A little more than at a ski shop.
Yeah.
And so I'm very grateful I found that niche, because if not, honestly, I'd be at the ski shop still waxing snowboards.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I'm just grateful I found film. 'Cause it
It's
helps put a roof
interesting,
over
like
my
when you
head.
say money, it's what it is, because I've thought about this with my own kids who, like my oldest son's 18 now, and he's trying to figure out what he wants to do. And I hired him for the first time. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to hire my kids. Never say never. I needed somebody like at the last moment. Like I was already on set. One of the PAs got sick. I couldn't find anyone. I really needed another body. So I brought him in for the day. What it is you're still, as a PA, you're still making minimum wage, but you work like 12 hours straight. So at the end of that day, you're like, I made so much money today. You know what I mean?
I worked twice as long as I ever have.
Yes, yes. He's used to working at the
Yeah.
sushi restaurant for 4 hours a day and
yeah.
making this much money. And
Right.
That's a
so
good point.
that's the little hook.
And they feed you.
And they feed you.
So yes,
You don't have
and
to
you get
spend
some
money
snacks
eating.
Yes.
for the ride home. So
Yes.
it's like, okay,
Yes.
you're not spending any money, and you're working a long day.
Yes.
So you don't get the chance to spend
Spend
that
the money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's kind of we always say this, right? Where people are like, what's the best advice in the film industry? And we all say, don't do it. Or don't
Yeah.
get into it.
Yeah.
But what'd your son think? Did he like it?
He loved it, and I didn't think he would be a natural, because I've always felt like he has a little bit of a issue with authority. And he just like jumped right. He was using lingo. I'm like, how did you even know on the radio? Like he was running first team by the end of the day. I'm like,
Whoa.
what is this kid? The actors freaking loved him.
That's awesome.
He
What a
did
stud.
great. I still have hope that he'll do something else. Just because, again, like if we want to talk about like telling people not to get into this industry, it is so magical. There are so many things that happen or that you get to do, like countries you get to go to or states or whatever, meeting like really fascinating, really smart people. But at the same time, when you're not working, like, I don't know. I guess the difficulty is never knowing when your next job's coming.
Big
Totally.
highs, big lows.
Yes. Big
Totally.
highs, big lows. Yes. Am I going to be able to pay my mortgage? And here's the thing. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've never missed a mortgage payment. So even I have to keep telling myself that. Like if I have time off work, I'm like, you've never missed. Like something will come. It always comes. It always comes right when it's supposed to. But it's still very difficult to believe that when you're in it.
Totally.
100%.
Totally.
Charles always taught me the 50% rule, which is cut your paycheck in half every paycheck and then always save that. So at the end of every job, you always have that to float you at least
Yeah.
till the next job
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I know people in this industry who don't do that, and then after every job, you know, they're struggling, and
Yeah.
it sucks to see. And that's my only advice in this industry is it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay
Yeah.
to communicate to people, and don't plan on consistency in this industry because
Yeah.
it's not going to happen.
And you have to, I remember, I think Steven Spielberg was on another podcast, and they asked him, what do you do in between projects? And he said, if I could invent a pill that made me not feel like a loser in between each project, I would be a millionaire. Because, and that, I'm like, even Steven Spielberg.
At all levels in this, everyone's feeling it. Even the top dogs. Yeah.
Yes. And it's something that I'm still working on. I think I do better than some of my friends. I have some friends that really go down pretty into like this dark hole of despair and like, what did I do wrong? I'll never get hired again. It's like,
which
nobody's
is funny.
working right
We
now.
all do it.
Yeah.
Everyone
You know,
does
all
it.
of us do it.
Charles and I do it to each other. Like, if
Yes.
there's like nothing happening in a month, he'll call me, I'll call him. We're like, you good? Yeah, I'm good.
Yes,
Why aren't you
yes.
working? I don't know. Why am I not working? And we'll like
Yes.
talk it out because
That's
how can you not,
amazing that
though?
you guys
Like,
have each other. I also have a really good support system of women in this industry. Well, and a couple of men too, but we try to get together every week or 2 weeks and we just have coffee or go out for drinks or whatever. And it's so nice to have other people that are in the exact same boat.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that's
to reassure each other, like, what
Totally.
are you talking about? Like, you're awesome. You kill it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not you.
Yeah.
It's the
Right.
it's the industry. It's just how
Totally.
it works.
Yeah.
It's so hard not to tie your self-worth to your productivity
Yes.
in an industry like this.
Yes.
And so, when you are in those ruts that naturally happen, those occur whether you have a say in it or not. It's so hard to like continue to believe in yourself and continue to
Yes.
push like your value and your worth when you're not getting the calls that previously dictated that worth. So
Absolutely.
it's like totally tricky.
Absolutely. And I've also noticed that I've been trying to just be a little more in tune with my body lately. But my nervous system, when I'm on a job, like everything's at heightened, like, because you know how fast everything moves and it's like everything feels like the end of the world. And that's how you run. That's how I run as a first AD on set. I don't think everyone does because they maybe don't have to. I always feel a weight on my shoulders of like getting the day done.
For sure.
And then, so after a movie's finished, I sometimes will spend a week in bed. And it's probably catching up on sleep, but it's also like re-regulating my nervous system
Totally.
because it's been at such a high for the last 6 weeks. It's wild. But I also have to give myself permission to do it.
Totally.
Because sometimes I'm like, you are such a loser. Like, I'll be laying in bed and I'll hear the neighbors like leave their driveway for work at like 8:30 in the morning. I'm like still laying there. I'm like, you suck. Why aren't you working? Why aren't you working on the yard or
the
cleaning out?
worst is social media now, though, too, because you'll just
Yes.
scroll and see what everyone else is doing and
You get that
compare
FOMO?
yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But hey, none of your neighbors would last a minute on an overnight shoot, right?
I
So you
know.
got them beat on that.
That's what my son actually said that to me the other day. He's like, yeah, but sometimes aren't you pulling in at 4 a.m. and like they're
Exactly.
still in bed? I'm like, yes, I know, I get it. But it's a lot of self-talk to get
Totally.
you to a place where you can enjoy your time off.
Yeah.
For sure.
I get
And
that.
that's, I
It's
just wanted
so
to
true.
say, too, like with downtime and finding ruts and everything, that was a huge push for Happy Rabbit and why we wanted to create this and give a platform to people to come and talk and just keep that community going. Because, yeah, when there's months off, if we're not playing with cameras, we feel like we're doing something wrong,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's where this kind of all sprouted.
Yeah, it's
was
awesome.
To
Yeah.
be able to get together and have these conversations and keep that going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Totally.
awesome.
So I have a question for
'Kay.
you. When we were preparing for this, Scooter let me know that you're something of like a mama bear.
Yes.
So
I call you,
wanted to
I
know
call
a
you Mama
story.
Bear on. She'll have your back, man. If people
Yeah.
are picking on you, Mama Bear will come in.
That's what I wanted to know. So what's like a really good example you can think of a time on set that like Mama Bear came out, you kind of brought the claws, had to like you saw a situation that wasn't going right and you needed to step in, regardless of right or wrong, basically.
Oh my gosh, there's been so many times. I don't want to.
We do it all the time. Go
We
ahead.
do it. Yeah.
We just worked on a film. I'm not gonna even name it. Where it was very intense because of. Oh my gosh. I'm
Just
like in my brain.
personalities,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like, big
Clashing of
personalities.
opinions,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and a lot of throwing people under the bus.
Yes.
It was constant. And that's not how I roll at all. I see myself as, and I think that first ADs are changing a little bit, but back in the day when I started, I saw almost every first was just like, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. And my approach to set is completely different. I like to take care of people. I want people to feel like every single department is important, and I want it to be like a safe space. And I do think the industry's changing a little bit, but I also think it might be because I'm female that I do have like that mama bear instinct. Like, so I mean, it was all day, every day on that last set.
Sure.
I felt like I would come in sometimes early to
Keep your watch on things.
well, I would warn departments because I would start getting text messages at 6 a.m. about a department that wasn't pulling their weight. And so I would go in early, or I would text or call them and say, like, listen, you're on the, like, someone's after you today.
Yeah.
So
You're on the watch list.
yeah, you are on, like, be on high alert. Let's make sure you have all your ducks in a row before we even start, the day or call rolling. So that was that maybe when I say I was in bed, usually I'm in bed for a week, I was in bed for 2 weeks, like recovering from, it felt
It was rough for you guys, like having to deal with all of that. It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It felt like being in an abusive marriage where you're protecting the children from the abuser.
I was going to say, that says so much about your character, because you could imagine other people on set might come early to find ways to get the advantage on other people, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, if I do this, like maybe whatever. You're the other way around. You're coming early to make sure that certain people are protected.
Yes.
To make sure that that person has their duck in a row and that the people that are looking at them aren't going to have anything to find.
Yes.
That says so much about you and
Yeah.
how much you care about the people on the crew. That's incredible.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, it's good when she's on set. It's a good thing.
I felt like that was probably, I don't know, I don't get sick on set very much.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I
It's
forgot
only
about
happened
that
to
day.
me one other time.
Yeah.
I remember when it was, but like, man, I got food poisoning on that show,
Yeah.
and I've never in my life had to run away from
That was
my job. Like,
Yeah.
legitimately, would like
It
ran
was
over,
kind of funny. I'm sorry.
ran to the DP, and I was like, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to operate this, and I like, ran around
Yeah.
the corner and like threw up. Like,
Yeah.
it was
I see
Oh,
Charles,
I
and I'm like,
felt
Charles,
so
are you
bad.
good? And he's like green. And then I see him. I'm watching this happen. I see him run to the D, and I'm like, why is he run? And then he says something, and I'm like, why is he running to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Charles is leaving for the day, guys.
so dumb.
That's another, like, can we talk about getting sick on set?
Yeah.
Or being sick and
Yeah.
not feeling like you should be in bed, but you go to work anyway. Like,
Yeah.
there's something about this industry, too, that, like, you show up no matter what. And I hate that. I think...
Why is that, do you think? Why do people feel like, I think I know, but why do people feel like if I don't get up and go to set today, or if I leave and have someone else come in, why is that a bad thing?
Right. I think that you feel weak. Like I feel weak if I get sick and I can't come in, which is very rare. I think it's happened once when I had Giardia and COVID at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
It was gnarly. But I mean, even this show that we're talking about, I got really sick. I
I remember
I
that.
had
Yeah, yeah.
diverticulitis, which
Oh.
it's a disease that I have. It's like a canker sore. It looks like canker sores in your colon. And if food or seeds or whatever gets stuck in there, it can get infected. And then your colon can burst and you can go septic and die.
Oh gosh.
Like the last time I had an incident, I was 5 days in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So I had that for the first, it was probably stewing for 2 or 3 weeks on set.
Right.
Like I felt horrible. And I remember we were shooting up in Park City. It was the huge day with the cheerleaders and everything, that
Yep.
total chaotic day. Or it wasn't with the cheerleaders, it was our second time back at Park City. It was like the basketball game.
Yeah.
Either way, it was a big day. Lots of extras. The director was very worried about the day. Everyone was worried about making the day or whatever. We were on a split. I got up super early and went to Instacare. They ran all these tests. They took my blood work. Their little machine that where they spin the blood or whatever to see if there's an infection, and it wasn't working. So I left, went to Park City, went to work. At lunch that day, I got a call from Instacare, and it was the doctor. He said, "You need to go to the emergency room right now." And I was like, "What?"
You're
like,
on set
feel,
working.
Yeah.
And action.
I literally was like, I remember I was sitting at lunch, and I was like, "But what if I don't go?" And he's like, "You could die." And I was like, even though he was like, "You could die," I was like, "I'm gonna finish this day, and then I'm gonna go to the emergency room." It was Mother's Day too.
Oh,
No.
gosh, yeah.
And I did.
Like,
I
it's
finished the
24/7,
day,
it's fine.
and
And
then
then
I
you
went to the emergency room
On Mother's Day.
on Mother's Day.
So you didn't go home and like do dinner or anything?
It was, for me, it was like a 20-hour day because I started early at Instacare,
Yeah.
did a full day on set in Park City, and then ended in the emergency.
Oh my gosh.
Girl.
My heart.
Don't do this at home. Like,
Oh
it
my
is
gosh.
not worth it. It's so dumb. But I literally felt like if I leave, I'm never going to get hired again by this company.
Okay, because
A
I
lot
was
of
about
people,
to
yeah.
kind of follow up and be a little vulnerable or whatever and say, like, my biggest fear of if I'm sick or if I'm not feeling good on set or if I have to leave or life happens, that someone else will come in and they'll like that person more, like how
Yeah.
they're performing
Yeah.
more, and then you'll get asked not to come back,
Yeah.
which I've seen happen.
Yes, I have
So-
too.
So it's like, if you've seen it happen, why wouldn't it not happen
Right.
to you?
Yeah, it's job protection, like
Yeah.
being the one in front of their face. Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
that's my biggest thing is like if I don't show up, I don't get hired, which
Yeah.
is like the worst thing in the world. That's
Totally.
like the most like manipulative type of mindset.
It
Like,
really is.
I also
Yeah.
think there's probably this mindset because it's like, well, it's only 6 weeks. You don't work
Right.
here full time. This isn't your 9 to 5.
Right.
You know, if you clocked in, clocked out, take a sick day, whatever. But
Yeah.
we're only doing this for 6 weeks. Come on,
Yeah.
come on, work through
Yeah.
it. Like,
Well, there's
I
that.
think that limited factor of it makes people think you should just stay on board the whole time.
There's
even
that,
if you
and
shouldn't.
because of the limited factor of how long you're going for, it makes it easier for them to replace you and
Totally.
not feel as bad.
Yep.
It's not like they're firing you and now you're not on a salary for the rest of the year.
Right now, you're just 3 weeks out of work.
It's just
Yeah.
3 weeks. They've already been here 3 weeks. A lot of people do that too. It's like, oh, they did half the movie. We'll give the other half to this person.
Right.
So then they both
Yeah.
get it, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
weird in our job positions. So, like, on set, there's only one first AD. There's only one camera operator. There's only one first AC. So it's not like you can walk off and say, "Hey, you other first AD in
tag
the
team,
corner,
yeah.
you take over." So that makes it weird with this industry. I think
Totally.
you're not
Yeah.
sitting in an office with 5 other people that do the exact
when,
same thing.
when Charles
Right.
left, we had to call someone in who luckily was just available. He's like,
Yes.
I'm putting new tile in my bathroom right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I'll stop and
Yeah.
grab my gear and come up. But
Yeah.
if that wasn't the case, we would have been down at camera for the rest of the day.
Right.
Probably could have had one of us do some things and it would have worked out. But like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the situation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Charles isn't going to be doing Trinity while throwing up. No one would want
Right.
him there. So
No.
it's like,
No.
you're out. Yeah.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't really understand, like, in our industry, how in depth that is, right? If there is things being rented for a big oneer, and the oneer has to do with the Trinity, and obviously we're creatives and we can work around a lot of these things, but a lot of the time we spend a lot of money on set to accomplish these shots.
Yes.
And if one of the key players isn't there, you can't accomplish that. And
Yes.
so a lot of that plays into your head too.
Yes.
Is like, oh, later we have that oneer down the stairs. I'm not feeling good, but like you just
We have to get
You
it.
just stay
yeah.
there, yeah.
Yeah. Or as a first, I've now prepped for 4 weeks. I know the script. I know the actors. Da, 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 da. So then you're bringing in another
a
first
good
to
point.
do what? Just say rolling and cut.
you don't want to give someone else. Yeah.
Like they're gonna have no idea what's going on.
Totally. They don't have the
People are
context going into
smart
it.
and they'll figure it out, but it is hard to replace yourself on sets,
Totally.
especially when you're that deep into it.
Totally.
But
I love it. Okay,
But
I'm
you
gonna
gotta do
pivot
it.
real quick
'Kay.
back into you.
okay,
So was it just your mom in film, or has your whole family been in film?
almost entire family. So my mom started. She got myself in. She got my sister Paula in, who did hair and makeup. My sister Starla was a production coordinator. My sister Lori gripped for a while. And then
I love they're all different,
my
too.
brother's the only one. There's 5 kids in my family, and my brother's the youngest, and he never got into the industry.
I love it. He's the lucky one.
Yes,
He's
yes.
like, y'all are miserable. I'm
And
not
he
doing
has the most money in his bank because he's like consistently been working.
I love it. He's over here chilling. Everyone else is just stressed and drinking
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah. We did all start having children at the same time, and we all left the industry once we
Yeah.
had our kids.
That's so fun. So they all grew up together.
Yes.
And
Yep. All the cousins are the same age. And then I'm the only one that went back
Mm.
Why?
Interesting.
Triumphant return.
because I think it was the divorce was the biggest reason. I was like, holy crap, I gotta start making some money again. And I kind of dragged my feet, but once I got on set, I was like, oh, I do love this. I left with a lot of trauma because I was doing episodic, and back then episodic was 10 weeks on, 10 months on, 2 months off, 10 months
wow.
on, 2 months off. And I was seconding, so the first back then would rotate every episode.
Yeah.
I was seconding. I never got a break. I was
Yeah.
absolutely exhausted, and I
God.
think I did that for almost 10 years straight. So at the very end, I was working on a show called Everwood with Chris Pratt, and I was 8.5, 9 months pregnant, and I was I was like, I could go lay in the middle of the freeway right now and take a nap, like literally fall asleep and not care if I get run over. Like, I remember thinking, like, please let a van hit me so I can go to the hospital and sleep.
No.
Because I mean, it's so exhausting when you're healthy and fit, but when you're also like growing another human inside of
Yeah.
you,
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
it
that.
was awful.
We had a scriptie on Grizzly Nights. I think she.
Oh
came
yeah,
and did-
Janelle.
Yeah, Janelle.
Yeah.
She came and did BTS. Oh no, she was just a photographer, not the scriptie.
Oh yeah, the still photographer.
Yeah.
Oh wait, both of them.
They're both
were.
pregnant.
They both
yeah.
were
Yeah.
like 8.5 months pregnant, and we just had our daughter, who's now 6 months. But seeing my wife at 8.5 months and like
Yeah.
her in bed and like resting and everything,
Yes.
I'm like, what the hell are you doing on
I
set,
know.
hiking through the woods and stuff? And
I
to hear
know.
that, I'm like, you guys are crazy to be.
Yeah.
Girl power.
Yeah.
Well, in any normal, call it corporate job, at 8.5 months they relieve you
yeah.
to not work anymore,
Right. Yeah.
and they still pay you.
Yeah.
That
Guess
does-
you're like, I can still make some more money before this baby's born, and I
Yeah.
have to be home for a little bit. Yeah.
You don't get that.
No
in
maternity
film.
leave
Yeah.
in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was wiped out. And when I left, my mindset was, I'm never going back. Like, that is no life to have. I'm so beat up. But,
Totally.
But times have changed. Like, no longer do you do 10 months straight.
I have to ask then, from now to back then, PA rates, have they gone up with the industry?
Barely.
Or are they about
Barely.
the same?
They've gone up, but not by a lot. It's a shame.
It's gone up with minimum wage as minimum wage is
Yes.
gone up.
Essentially,
Yes.
it's
The
just
inflation
followed
curve, probably,
minimum
that's
wage.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's one of my biggest pet peeves.
Mm.
I will sometimes take I'll say, I'll take a movie or whatever, and I'll say, give me the budget for my department.
Yeah.
And then I move everything around, make it much more even for everybody, and try to make it so that those PAs are making a living wage, because
See, and I actually prefer that. Like, that's how they do it in LA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, here's your budget,
oh yeah,
figure it out.
Yeah.
And then they do the same thing with camera. Here's your budget, figure it
Yeah.
out. And
oh,
then like,
interesting.
as the DP, you're the one that's like going through and being like, oh, okay, here's
Right.
what how much I can allocate to things,
Yes.
or whomever. As like G&E, like if I'm the key, it's like, oh, okay, I can pay my guys
Yeah.
XYZ, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to Utah, where it's like, I just feel like everybody's
Like,
so
here's the
stingy. They're
rate.
like, no, this is
Oh,
your rate.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
Like, I've got a Google Doc somewhere that says exactly what your rate is for
Exactly.
your position, just so
Yes.
you know. There's
Exactly.
no
Yes.
budging. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I'm like, that's so like backwards way of doing
Yeah, I
things,
agree.
because if I don't need to spend, like, I can pay my guys more. I
Yes.
can
Let's
get
say it.
better
Can I
crew
just-
members.
I'm gonna
Yes.
say it, and I'm just gonna say it. If you can't afford to pay your people the proper rate, you can't afford to do your shoot. The end.
I know. That's a hard pill
It's
to
hard.
swallow
It is.
sometimes.
Yeah.
That's the pill that I think Utah people have. The Utah industry has become way too comfortable with everyone asking everyone to do each other favors.
Yeah.
It's on a
And we-
homey basis.
And we
Yeah.
forget that, like, it's work and a living.
Yes.
And, like, you wouldn't go to, like, call it In-N-Out and say to the In-N-Out worker, can you do me a favor today and only work for $6 an hour?
Yep.
You'd never do that. You
Right.
just expect to, like, pay them their hourly wage.
Or
Yeah.
ask your bathroom tile guy to give you a good deal just cause.
Yeah.
And, like, that is a little more reasonable, like a tile guy maybe, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're an hourly guy, you're an hourly guy, and we're hourly people or day rate people. And it just blows my mind that, like, when I started in this industry, especially as a second, I can recall multiple times where I got paid way more than I'm getting paid now as a first.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Rates
yeah.
have gone down dramatically
Yeah.
over the last
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. So, yeah, it's just
Yeah, I'm hoping that changes. I do feel like things are going to start picking up. I mean, we went through like a really gnarly, like it was COVID and then the SAG strikes and then IATSE was maybe going to strike. And it's like, I feel like it's just been this long chain of misfortune
Strike
for
after
this
strike
industry.
after strike.
Yeah. So
Stupid.
now
Yeah,
that
two, 3 year
hopefully
part.
that's all behind us and we can start getting more work, then you can say, well, I'm up for this other job as well, and this is what they're paying me. So if you want me, you need to pay at least that or more.
yeah, that's the leveraging, right?
Yeah.
Not the being held hostage for the one job that comes into town that
Yes.
everyone's scratching for.
Yes.
And like, if that's the rate, that's the only thing in town, and there's
What are you going
20
to
other
do?
people
Just sit
behind
home,
you.
or are you going to go work for way less? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
most of us will go work for less.
Right. And part of that too is because of the passion. Like, we all love making movies.
Yeah.
You know, there's like that art side of
Yeah.
filmmaking, you know, that we all love doing, and so it's like we are willing to go work for less because there is that
Yeah.
kind of passion.
What is that quote? Pain is art. I mean, I guess we're living it.
Totally.
The industry's
Yeah.
I
pretty
make a lot of
painful.
art.
It is. I do too.
You have a very painful life, Charles.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, I was talking to Scooter about this the other day. I think what is like one of the most beautiful things about the film industry and what attracted me to it, especially, is that like my worst case scenario in film is I just have to go get a 9 to 5 like everyone else.
Right.
Like my
Yeah.
worst case scenario was most people's like regular day.
Right.
Right.
Totally. Yes.
Like, isn't that crazy?
Yes.
You really get to live your life how you want and do all these things and
Yeah.
like work these awesome sets, and there's totally tons of sacrifice that comes with that. But the worst thing that could happen,
Right.
if I'm not getting these calls anymore, just
Go get
to
another
an office job.
Yeah.
Like what most
Yeah.
people do anyways.
Yeah.
Kind of backing that up, but also being the devil's advocate to
Advocate
it.
it.
I love it. But I always have to remind myself, we're also a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
To do what we do.
Yes.
And
Very
most
much so.
people don't enjoy 12 hours in the sun all day
On
because
your
they're being
feet.
creative.
Yeah.
100 degrees
Yeah.
outside. Like,
So we also have to remind ourselves we're a little
We're built
crazy.
different.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
most people want to be in an air conditioning place for 8 hours, salary benefits.
Yeah.
So I do, to your point, I do
Mhm.
have to remind myself there is
Right.
that. But we're all a little crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I say sometimes when people ask me, they're like, "Oh, you work in the film industry. That must be so fun." Which, by the way, I get when I'm on a really hard show. I start a text chain with the PAs, and it's basically called "Oh, you work in the film industry," and I'll catch them in these like ridiculous scenarios or situations. You know, as a PA, you are doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'll take pictures and then I'll add it to the chain. Oh,
That's
you
cool.
work in the film industry. Anyway. Yeah, I tell people, I'm like, it's a little bit like being a construction worker.
Yep.
Like, you see those guys, the flaggers out there for 12 hours, and
Yep.
you think, I could never do that. Well, guess what? It's basically what we do with a bunch of fun and creativity sprinkled on top.
Yeah.
But we're in the elements,
Yeah.
Oh,
on
yeah.
our feet.
Yeah, you want to stand in a parking lot next to a tripod for
Yeah.
12 hours
Right.
and be baking in the sun? Because we've done that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
freezing your butt off.
You
in the middle of
do,
winter
you
time.
have to
4
be
in the-
tough. You
Have
cannot
you
be
ever
soft.
gone, let
Yeah.
your dog out at 4 in the morning in the middle of winter and said, damn, I would never go outside?
Yeah.
We've been out there all night for
Yes.
3 weeks straight.
Yes. I remember when I took all that time off when I was we're raising my kids, and I would be in my house and there would just be a like gnarly snowstorm outside. And I would just sit there and think, thank God I'm not in the film industry anymore. Like, I know there's suckers standing out there in that right now shooting something.
I always do
Yep.
that, like on a burning hot day, and
Yeah.
I'm like taking out the trash. And I'm like, oh, it's hot. Run back
Yeah.
inside. I'm like,
Yeah.
Someone's out there all day right now holding a camera.
Yes. Yeah, it's an
Oh.
interesting industry for sure. But
This is gonna be a wild question, but craziest experience you've had on set.
craziest experience. Oh man, craziest. This one's hard because there's so many. When you say craziest, what do you mean by craziest? Like,
I mean, 1,000 things come to my brain, but
The most
one,
unexpected.
on our last movie, we were crossing the street with all of our gear, and a motorcyclist ran like a red light and literally
Oh.
came within like 6 inches of crashing into us and all of our stuff.
oh,
Did you not hear about that?
No.
Yeah,
yikes!
like slid, and then he jumped up and blamed us and then it was awesome. Brent was, or I forgot who it was. They're like, "Okay, we'll call the cops," and just like gets on the phone, and it was like,
Oh.
and then they come over, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they work for us," and then he walked away, and it
Oh,
was one of
funny.
those. But
Yeah, there's been a lot of, and again, like, I think the industry's getting safer, but back in the day, like, I saw all kinds of stuff. Like, I remember on The Stand, it was a Stephen King series. We were shooting a guy on a motorcycle coming down Big Cottonwood Canyon, and he's supposed to hit, you know, where the big rocks are, and you kind of come through that S turn.
Yep.
So he came around
Silent
there,
rock.
and then he was supposed to hit the guardrail and fly over the top. And we had this big net set up down below, so he was supposed to go
Oh,
land in
God.
the net. And he got too much speed and went right
course.
over the net.
Oh my gosh.
He almost died.
Oh,
I
God.
remember on Promised
everyone's
Land.
just filming like, dude misses the net.
Director's like,
Yes.
let's go and do another take on that.
What did he get life flighted out?
Yes. It was very dramatic. He was, I think, and I can't remember if he broke his back or whatever. It was so long ago. He was.
Shout out
Hurt.
stuntmen.
I know.
my gosh.
I know.
Wow.
I remember on Promised Land, which is another series that I did. I was at base camp, like, because I was always early. I was running base camp at that time. And the transportation coordinator calls me and he says, "We will not be shooting today." And I was like, "What? What do you mean? Of course we're shooting." He's like, "No, we're not shooting today." I'm like, "What is up?" And he said, "The camera truck just blew up
Oh,
on
no.
I-15." I was like,
Oh, I've heard
Oh
"What?"
wait,
I know the
I know
story.
the story. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, someone
It
had
lit on
left.
fire, yeah.
Someone had left the propane tank in the
tank, yeah.
back a little bit open, so that it was over the weekend. This was a Monday. The back, it was a cube truck, and it had just filled up with propane. And so when the driver hit a bump, something sparked back there, and it blew up. And I still was like, "Come on! Like, I'm sure we can get something
rental
out of
house,
it."
yeah.
But when you see the pictures, like, everything was melted to the ground. Like,
That's insane.
everything. There was not a camera. There was nothing. It
That's
was
crazy.
crazy. But
Got like
because of
$300,000
insurance
in
reasons, you have to still go forward and see if you can somehow salvage your day.
Hmm.
So we all had to stay on set until like 2 p.m. until
Oh,
the
wow.
UPM was finally like, "Okay, everybody go home. We're trying to get new cameras in." That was crazy. I saw a driver get blown out of a trailer once. Same scenario. Someone had left the propane on, and he was smoking a cigarette and walked in to open an actor's trailer and got blown right out. Like, his hat melted to his head.
Oh my gosh.
Instantaneous
Whoa.
welding.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There's reasons safety things are in place, people.
There's just so many
That's
propane
awesome.
tanks
Well,
everywhere.
that's awesome. Hopefully it was okay, but like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I could go on and on.
I want you to. You got a few more? What else you got?
That's crazy.
Oh.
I mean, mine are very limited. I saw JJ get thrown off a steak bed backwards with a cart, grip cart.
Yeah.
Mine are pretty limited though, but keep going. I like yours.
Oh man, I'm trying to think. I don't know. Those are probably like the big standouts, but yeah, stunts. There's always something with stunts. You try to do it so safely, and again, like, I haven't had an accident in a long time, or seen one in a long time, but it happens. It happens.
I got a stunt coming up.
Do you? Are you doing stunts now?
You hear about that? You're shooting it. You didn't read the script, did you?
Oh, for Chris's movie?
I'm acting in Cope's thing.
Oh,
Got,
nice.
like a little short at the end of the month.
Yes.
And then I have a full stunt where they're throwing me, I guess, like 20 feet.
Yeah.
And Corbin's going to work with me before, but we're going to throw me across the room through a bookshelf.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
But Cope said, get ready to fly 20 feet.
Yeah.
So
I actually love stunts.
I'm
I
excited.
love it when we have like good stunts on movies. Especially if you have a really good stunt coordinator. I mean,
Yeah.
like that's the
Oh, yeah.
bottom line. You got to have
Yeah.
somebody who really knows what they're doing and is safe. But I think it's so fun.
We had Gabe and Amber on, and I'm like, guys, like, come on, blow me up, do something.
Blow
Like,
me
I
up.
want to
Yeah.
jump off something. And
Set me
Gabe
on fire.
was like, okay.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I think
do-
Cope heard that and
I-
said, we'll throw Scooter 20 feet.
I
Yeah.
do wish that we would film, because I feel like it's been such a long time, but I wish we would do like more action movies and,
Yeah.
and like fun stuff like that instead
Hell
of
yeah,
just
like
like
jumping off buildings.
dramas
Yeah.
that we film.
John Wick in
I've always
Utah.
thought that
Yeah.
about you and I because of our climbing backgrounds and
Yeah.
loving to hang off at things and such. They're like, how fun would it be? Did you watch the behind the scenes of? Oh, what's the gun movie?
Bad Boys too, right? Talking about
There's that one, but they rigged the camera operator and he's jumping from building to building.
Oh
with
yeah,
the
there was
people.
Oh, cool.
What was
Born
Identity?
Ultimatum or one of those.
One of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially
Or
like
007.
they had
Could've
like
been
a
one of those,
full
too.
like line rig to where obviously the stunt guys were jumping building
Yeah.
to building, and then the camera operator was running and jumping with them, but
Oh,
on
that's
like
awesome.
essentially zip lines.
Yeah.
Zipline,
And then would catch and then jump to the next building with them, and
Yeah.
like was doing all the stunts,
Yeah.
but like rigged up. And I was like, that's some operating I would be
Yes,
into. Like,
yes, that is so cool. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I love anything like that. I love racing cars.
but your end of it's totally different because you have to like organize it
and keep people
and keep
people
it safe. We
Yeah.
just get to have fun. We
Yeah.
show up, we're like, where do we stand?
Yeah.
Where do we go?
Yeah.
You're the people she's
Yeah.
worried about being safe.
Yeah, yeah. I still love it. I also come from a climbing background, so I understand like rope work and all that stuff. And to me, there's a safe way to do everything, and I trust the system.
Yeah.
So whereas I think some people don't, and that's where you get in trouble because they start panicking, and the environment gets to this like level of kind of chaos, and that's when I think people get hurt. So that's another big thing for me as a first AD is especially when I have big days, like if I've got like a bunch of guns or stunts or whatever, in my head, I'm like, be calm, be clear, be kind. Stay calm in a situation that is high intensity. Be clear about what everyone is doing. Make sure everyone is clear, and be kind because people do get stressed, and like you want people to feel taken care of in
Yeah,
that
that's awesome.
situation.
I like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
hard
really
to
cool.
remind yourself everyone's day is different.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, well maybe one day we'll all get to work on
Maybe we'll get to work again.
a 007.
Maybe. Be
Oh
rad.
my gosh, that would be so fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
John Wick of Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Do you get to work with your mom at all anymore,
Ooh, good
or
question.
No, she retired
Oh, she's
probably.
done, okay.
Yeah, she retired like 3 years ago,
Okay.
and she I think probably her last 10 or 12 years she was in house at BYU.
Yeah.
So she was, which was great for her because she then had all of a sudden health insurance, which none of us have, and a retirement, and she loves teaching. So she was also in like she had a lot of students working for her.
Okay.
I
He just picked up
did
a
go
class that you
down
did.
once to help out on something,
Cool.
and I was like, I'd rather be homeless. I can't do it, Mom. It was like it was like a talk show, like 5 cameras talking about church stuff, and I
Oh,
was
okay.
like, I can't do it.
Like, I love you, but
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. So it's been a while, but we did have fun. I think we did 1 or 2 series where she was the coordinator and my sister was in the office with her, and then I was on set, and it was fun. It's actually nepotism in this business runs rampant, but here's what I'll say about it is you have somebody that you 1000% know you can trust.
Yeah.
So I watch sometimes, like a gaffer is hiring his nephew or his whatever. The relationship between them is totally different than the relationship and it's like this weird, I don't know how to explain it, but you're not abusing them, but you are asking for exactly what you want without feeling like, are they going to hate me, or do they think that I'm being too hard on them,
You
or
can
whatever.
skip the politeness bubble and
Yes.
just go right for what you need.
Yes.
Totally.
Which
So kind of how Charles talks to me, and then everyone
Yes.
on set looks at Charles.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
How Charles talks to everyone and gets crap for it all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So there's something to be said about working with family members on set, but I don't know.
That would be hard for me, to be honest.
Would it?
Yeah, I like being. That's why I got into film, was knowing in my world. I was like, film was kind of my niche.
Yeah.
My dad wanted me to either be a lawyer or real estate broker.
Uh-huh.
Totally went the other way. Dyed
Yeah.
my hair blue and said I'm gonna make films.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could not work in or with family. That'd be too
I
much.
do try to, because I do realize now how lucky I was to just be basically given a job. So I really try to seek out people who are trying to get into the industry that have zero. They don't know anybody who's ever been in the industry before. And try to help them out. Like, I'll be your mom. Like, let's get, let's make this nepotism.
Kind of pay it
like,
forward.
Yeah. Because I do see that it is really different. It really is all in who you know.
Totally.
Whether you have a
100%.
family member
Shout
or
out
not.
Brent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
know you two if it wasn't for Brent.
Yeah. Shout out Brent. I think we're going to see him tonight. I think we're going to go
Are
to
you really?
a baseball game. Yeah.
How fun.
Freaking love that dude.
Yeah.
The Bees game?
He's a great guy. Which here's another tip I will say is be friends with your competitors. Like Brent and I will never work together because we do the same job, but I adore him, I respect him, and hopefully he'll throw me work if he can't take it. And I do the same. Like if I'm off of work, I'll sometimes hook up with Miriam and Chris and go to lunch or have breakfast or whatever, and like help each other out. It's a small industry
100%.
and people talk, and we should all be helping each other out instead of always competing for whatever it is. Like I'm happy when my friends get jobs, even if it's
Totally.
a job I wanted. I'm
Yeah.
like, you go, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're
That-
meant for this job, I wasn't.
Takes a lot of humility to be there.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
Tolly taught me one of the most important things, and it's be nice to whoever's working under you, because on the next job they may be working over you.
1,000. I have been hired by my PAs who are now producers. And I did have one guy come to me and say, you were the only one that was nice to me in that department. And so
Interesting.
now,
Yeah.
you want to first AD this commercial? Great.
No, I could say the same in many accounts in different situations. It's like if people treat you good, you want to work with them. The
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. Personality is 90% of
And
this job.
there's people I will hire or go work for just because they're good people.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about the who's in charge or who's the
Right.
boss, or it's like, are we working? Great, let's go make something.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're with each other all day long. Like,
You gotta like
I
each
don't
other.
want a negative Nelly. You could be the best at your job. If you are negative, I am like, please leave.
Everyone's been on set with that one person that you love to be around, and everyone's like loves that energy, and then
Yes.
you've been on set where like there's those people that you're like, "Ugh, I'm gonna walk over here, they're over there.
Yeah.
And, like it will make or break a day.
Yes.
100%.
I also
Yes.
think like in
Like I see
any,
Charles over there at Crafty, I go over here.
Yeah.
it's just like in any scenario, having anyone with very negative energy is immediately just going to be like
Yes.
bad, not good.
Yes.
When you're doing something that's near impossible.
Yes.
Making a good movie that has like awesome plots and fantastic performance and great camera work, like that's basically impossible.
Yes.
And so when you're in the middle of that and you have someone that's incredibly negative on set, like guys, we're basically pushing this boulder uphill together.
Yeah,
We
totally.
can't have people
Yeah.
not being a part of that.
Yeah.
Because, like, absolutely. That negativity in such a difficult scenario is, like, one of the worst things
Yeah.
to upset, I think.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I know you guys like keep interviewing other people, but I just want to say, these two, you guys are the best to work with. I adore you both.
Hey.
You
Oh,
guys
thanks.
are so good at your jobs, and I love the personality and the like, just go with the flow. I love it. You guys
Oh,
are awesome.
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means
Yeah.
a lot coming from you, honestly. So thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, really good. In fact, this kid Trent, I think I introduced him to you. I'm trying to get him
I think
into
he
the
came in that
industry.
day, yeah.
I was like, go follow Scooter and like stay away from this person,
I
but
feel
go
bad.
to this
Did
person.
you say anything? Because I felt bad because I was probably like on like level 12 because he came in all calm and I'm like, all right, so this is Evan, this
Yeah.
is Preston,
Yeah.
this is our cart, this is our church, and I just like went off for like
Yeah.
20 minutes, and then he was like, okay.
He just sucked
and I was
it
like,
all
and
in,
then
I hope.
talk to this kid, and then follow him, and then
Yeah.
meet me in like an hour around
Yeah.
here, and he was probably just like,
That is his personality though, which I kind of love about him.
Okay.
Is he is just like steady. I've hired him as a PA on a couple things to try to like introduce him. He belongs in the camera department, but I've been hiring him as a PA so that he can meet
Which
other
is
camera
good.
people. Yeah,
like
yeah.
to understand the flow.
Yeah, he's really smart and just like he sucks it all in and he's got the right attitude and
No, he was cool. I was
Yeah.
just hoping I didn't scare the crap out of him because he's probably like,
No.
is this kid on something?
No,
what is going
no,
on?
no.
I'm like, I'm only 3
crack.
Red Bulls deep, dude.
yeah. well,
crack
and
on
we
before,
came
huh?
in at the like first setup of the day, which is always a little bit
That was
chaotic.
the party
So,
scene. Yeah, that was a
yeah, it was
crazy
big.
day.
Yeah, no, it was great. He loves just being around. You know, he's like big, wide open eyes right now. Like,
I
so
love it.
excited.
Just
Taking it all in.
absorbing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's so much to absorb.
There
It's so
really
cool.
is.
And
There
I'm
really
still
is.
absorbing, and I'm sure I still will.
Yeah.
Forever.
You do. I learn something new on every single set, almost every single day.
Every day.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's the thing about our industry. It just keeps changing,
Yes.
which keeps our ADD brains going.
Yes.
Yep.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming today and
Yeah.
chatting with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fun.
We
We
love
gotta
working
make-
with you.
Thank
we love
you.
you. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're the best.
We gotta make
Aw.
this more of a thing, especially if we do a project together. It'd be fun to like bring in some people from the project and
Yeah.
do one of these.
And talk about the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be
Before we
great.
go, do you want to shout out your social media pages or anything like that? That people
Nope.
follow you? Yeah, no, forget that, right?
Is that social media?
Lame.
What's that? No, I don't. My social media is basically my family. It's not
Nice.
really. Sometimes I'll throw some work stuff in there, but yeah, no.
Cool.
Just that OG
Isn't bad.
stat. She just gets hired from being awesome.
Yeah.
And
She doesn't need social media like the rest of us to get jobs.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
and,
Thank you
hopefully we'll see
guys.
soon.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Okay.
Thanks for watching,
Thanks.
guys.
See ya.
Just cut smack on the clink.
That was fun, you guys.
That was awesome.
Let's do this.
That was
Yeah.
good. I like that one.
Good.
You're